Oh, everyone talks about spending cuts. You know where the first place they want to cut on the Democratic side anyway? It is defense spending. They feel as though Republicans will come to the table because they fear defense spending cuts. What does it mean for the country, though? Party aside, joining us right now is the CEO of Concerned Veterans for America, Captain Pete Hegseth, who understands what it's like to get the funding and what it would be like if we don't get the funding. Captain, how concerned are people in the military about what could be coming our way March 1st?
Well, very concerned. News reports talk about what's going to happen. One recently talked about the Navy. We're going to have less ships. They're going to move less. They're going to train less. They're going to be maintained much less. And therefore, they're not going to be able to deploy the way we'd want them to respond to threats and project power as necessary. You know, the Constitution mandates providing for the common defense, and our military is the guarantor of our freedom. If we don't maintain that, everything else goes away. At the same time, every veteran, everyone in defense understands there's fat to be cut from the Defense Department. Let's reform it. The nature of these sequester cuts, though, is to take a meat axe to the budget. Let's reform the defense budget and then look at the largest drivers of our debt and deficit in mandatory spending programs, entitlement programs that those on the, on the left end of the spectrum don't want to touch.
Secretary Gates said, I'm going to make some cuts so you guys don't cut me back. They took Gates' cuts, and then they're going to try to up them by $500 billion. Leon Panetta takes over from him, and I'll just try to speak over Ralph for a second. Leon Panetta takes over, has the same fear. Here's what he said yesterday on Meet the Press.
We've got a plan for that possibility because there are so many members that are saying, we're going to let it take place. But I have to tell you, it is irresponsible for it to happen. I mean, why in God's name would members of Congress elected by the American people take a step that would badly damage our national defense, but more importantly, undermine the support for our men and women in uniform? Why would you do that?
That is inaccurate. It is the president that proposed these sequester cuts. This isn't Congress doing that, and there's a Republican fear about these cuts. Would you say that's accurate?
I would say it's accurate. There's also a growing resignation to them on the Hill for some reason. I was up there 2 weeks ago, met with 30 offices. Everyone seems resigned to the fact that this is going to happen. And the administration is pointing the finger back at Congress. And I think everyone needs to look back at where the buck stops and say, this is what leadership about. This is a moment where if you don't want these sequester cuts to happen, which the president has said he doesn't want to happen, it's going to require leadership at the top to actually forge a deal that finds specific cuts where necessary, but avoids the draconian cuts that are going to hit defense. Congress is dysfunctional. We get that. But ultimately, you move your way out of that dysfunction by providing leadership at the top. The president's been AWOL on strategic thinking and AWOL on specific ways to reform spending so we can avoid these dramatic cuts that everyone agrees, left, right, and center, are no good for our defense.
And it hurts guys like you eventually. They say it's not going to affect personnel, but we know it's different. Captain, thanks for your service. Thanks for your insight. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, Steve?